chap comes in to replace he might be fatter or bigger, generally speaking, and or perhaps or otherwise Amsterdam might stay for longer. I mean, it is given to him, so he leaves with it. And once he becomes fat, he probably still wants to fit in it. When he becomes fatter, so they would make it sort of extra large, and also for once it would pass down. So back then, until the sewing machine was well established, which was a bit later on. I mean, it was well established back then, but still there was a lot of hand sewing going on, fully hand sewn, all the classes for some classes still usually very low classes, all the very high we wanted high quality. But still there was that spirit, even when the machine sold it, to make it extra large, said that it was more practical. Something which is extra large can always be taken down. So if, for example, anyway, a shed is extra large, or a coat is extra large, this part here wears out, instead of having to punch it and all, I take it in, which obviously, if it is tight like that, kid, it will not work. I take it in, superb, I wear it, crack it again. Then it has to be worn by someone smaller, but it was my coat, I have nobody smaller to give it to. So they would make clothes extra large since the antiquity. And so his shed, clearly the sleeves there are too long. To have these folding cuffs, and the idea was, as it does in the beginning of the movie, the idea was they are not like these cuffs. The button at the beginning here, it was still very popular back then, especially for lower classes. The button at the beginning and the cuff it goes like that. And so what they would do is, for good occasions, for formal occasions, for dance or whatever, they would want their cuffs to be well cleaned and all, and it would hang upon the hand like this. It would look too long. I said it was too long. Well, it is not too long. It is purposely meant to be like that. But, and so it was also a sign, if a man had a white shirt or a light colored shirt, looked clean and he was well dressed and he always had cuffs like that, it was a sign that he was a nobleman, or was a man of wealth. For even clerks had to turn back their cuffs because it will come in the way of the quill pen, and so what it will do is they will write. First of all, it will dirty the cuff, and ink is very hard to remove, even when the cuff has been starched. And so even if it is a removable cuff and they cheated like clerks often did, still it will be hard to remove the ink. And furthermore, writing with a quill pen, have done it even when I was a child. I used to write with a quill pen that actually has to be dipped into ink. And what happens is anything that rubs over it directly after one has written, anything that rubs over it will mess up the job, and one has to start over again. It will be all smudged onto the paper. So what they would do, the clerks, is they would turn it back, and the farmers would always, and the working people would always turn them back, which would simultaneously protect the cuff, but especially protect the coat when on top of it, because the coat sleeve, usually coats could not be washed, since again they were made out of wools, and they would perhaps be washed once every year max, and they could not, the stains could not very be gone out of, because so if it was, let us say, a farmer, picking up these heavy stacks of hay, and it had poo in it, and it gets stained, the cuff, how would that stain go away? It would have to be washed at least 60 or even at least 50 degrees Celsius, but that would shrink the wool. So they don't even have the option to really wash it and to get that stain away. So what they would do is the cuff would protect it, and then the cuff, the sheds were not washed often, but when they were, at least once every 6 months, they would be boiled, which would remove most of the staining. And also a shed is less hard, less work to do to reconstruct a shed, or even simply to replace the cuff, to unsole it, cut it off, whatever. So that was the spirit, to turn it back. And so his shed is very accurate. It looks like an original. It is made out of this sort of homespun linen, I guess. And I have, perhaps from that era or a bit later on, they were still making those sheds in France, in the countryside, which was still very old-fashioned until even some places until the 1940s. And have sheds like this, and I've worn them a lot, very similar sheds, only a little bit lighter. They call it, I like a bit like a what they call it, like a smoke shirt. It can be easily washed. It looks dirty after a very long time. This fabric does not look dirty quickly, so it looks clearly different from Bill the Butcher's shirts and what he later on Amsterdam, or the Capri, what he later on wears when he clearly has more money, or at least he's part of the gang, and perhaps we have purchased clothes for him. Bill the Butcher has paid for Teller to make a new suit and whatever, and he wears an actual dress shirt, which is made out of much thinner linen and all cotton, and which would look dirty quite quickly. But the idea was, I have a lot of money so I can wash it more, and it shows that I have washed it because it would otherwise look dirty, and so it shows that I can wash it, so it shows that I have a minimum amount of money. But there, when he has sex with the lady, or I mean about to, it is not really, he has not really upgraded that much into the gang yet. He is beginning to, but not that much, so it makes sense. Also, he's not even wearing a waistcoat, only that sort of coat. Now, I want to say something about the shirt tails. They said in the movie that they made the shirts longer for the gang of the shirt tails. It's very briefly seen, but really they would have been that long in that era, especially for the working classes, because they used their shirts usually as underwear, as boxes. They would take, what I did that for some shirts I have, which is very long, to put one there and then take the front here to create sort of a brief, and then pull the trousers up, and or to also use it to sleep in as a night shirt. So, I mean, pajamas were not invented and did not come into fashion in the Western world. They were part of Japanese and all Chinese culture, and they really became adopted first in America in the 70s, I think, very late 70s, 1870s. So back then, what wealthy people would do is to have actual nightgown, which looks like the stasha that the Muslims like in here wear, which is a very long sort of robe, but it is not split in the middle. So it cannot really separate the legs, it cannot be worn as a shirt, it cannot be tucked into a trousers properly. So this is really only meant to be worn at night. So, but usually all the working classes and all, they would actually have the same shirt they would wear during the day, or at least they had the option to wear that shirt they wore at night during the day, and so it would be quite long, like the one I had showed once. So in America they stopped doing that earlier because of the reform movement, which wanted more hygiene, but in the 1860s it was still the norm to do that, and especially the shirt tails are a gang of working class poor people, so obviously all their shirts would have been very long. And now, in real life, the actual shirt tail gangs that actually existed, did they really wear their shirts untucked? Who knows? I think even the movie director had no manner of knowing that, but maybe they did. But so when the costume said we made it longer than what it would have been like, it would have been that length. I mean, so that was a mistake. Again, the problem with movies like that is to take a costumist, a costume designer, not a costume historian, to overlook everything. But then, because Martin Scorsese still wanted a very realistic view to represent realism in both a thematic mode, in both of that means the themes, and also object mode, as in the lamps they have, the furniture, the roads, the pavement, the haircuts, whatever. Is it dirty, is it not dirty? Because of all that, it is not really the costume designer. I mean, the costume design is by... where is it? I'm looking at the credits now to see who did the costumes. It was that lady with red hair, dyed red hair, produced by Gangs of New York, screenplay, executive producers, blah blah blah. I don't know, the damn costume designer, the lady who did that. I remember having seen the making of. Really, that lady would barely know anything of what history costumes as a world were like. They simply took her to